All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 81st episode of The Get Down. My name is Cream.
Gary W here.
Feel like this pod's been a long time coming. We haven't done this in what feels like weeks.
Yeah, well, it has been because we didn't do last week, and then the meetup was the week before, and I'm not sure. I think we did one the week before that.
Yeah, I can't even remember. I feel like it's been a blur.
Yeah, I think since the meetup, it has been a little bit of a blur. I'm just getting home from that escapade, and that was now 2 weeks ago. And it's been go 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 for 2 weeks. I was on vacation, but like I was on a vacation that was all adventures. So it's like
How much of a vacation was it really?
Yeah, like kayaking one day into like just a lot of swimming, did some snorkeling, hiking. It's just like it just was nonstop. You're just constantly going. So
Yeah,
I finally got here and I hit the couch and I was like, holy shit, I haven't sat on a couch in 2 weeks, over 2 weeks. So it was kind of nice to relax and get back here.
well, yeah. I mean, plus not only you went away and you had like an active vacation, but then you came back and literally went off the plane and worked for an entire weekend, which just never really works so well.
No, it was a off the plane at 7:30 off a 5-hour drive and 5-hour flight to do. I pretty much made it on time to 6 to 6. Did the whole night there. Woke up a couple hours later. Did brunch. My buddy was in from Italy, so did brunch with him, or whatever, dinner, I guess you'd call it, and then back to work, and then up in the morning to do brunch again. It was like, and then made it to the night gig, but didn't play. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, I don't
let
blame
Doug
you.
rock that.
I don't blame you, man.
And then it was up at 3:30 a.m. on Monday for a flight, like an idiot.
Just
So,
not the tightest planning with the schedule this time around.
It's the time of year where, guys, if you're traveling to gigs and stuff, like you have to get creative because it's a time of year where schools are letting out and flight prices are up. So it becomes a little more like when you're like if you're a traveling DJ and you're traveling to make money and like the resort you're playing at or whatever, the club you're playing at's not paying for it, like, and you got to get creative. Unfortunately, these are the ways you have to do it. So just something to think about, especially when you get like from like May to like September, this is the way you need to think. And then like when like mid-September to around March, you're kind of good to go with flight prices. And then plus inflation and gas prices and everything else isn't helping all that stuff. So
Yeah.
just
I think
heads up if you're traveling.
So I've been running around like crazy too. I played a bunch of new rooms in the last 2 weeks. Which we haven't really even talked about too much. But I got a chance to go up to Avalon, Mohegan Sun, which puts Atlantic City to shame. Like, it's so nice up there. It's ridiculous.
It's incredible when you get out of Atlantic City, how great like casinos are everywhere else.
It's so nice.
How clean places are and like newer.
Yeah, newer, nice rooms, clean hotel. Listen, Atlantic City doesn't always have the best people in the casinos, depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like it was jam packed. It was rocking. And it was one of those sets where shout to RM from Boston. RM got me locked up at Avalon. So shout to him. Thank you, my bro. But he kind of gave me the heads up, like, yo, like the manager is going to listen. And like, if you do a good job, you're going to be back. And if you don't do a good job, like he'll let you know. You're kind of going to know.
Yeah.
And so I went up there and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go rock like an A set. This is a casino set. I know how to do this. I've been doing this for years. It's like,
right.
You're catering to that celebration crowd, right? These people are in town for the night. They want to go out. They're celebrating a birthday or a bridesmaid group or a groomsman or whatever it is. Right. It's like, you got to go and hit that A set.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when you play the same rooms over and over again, you have to get creative. You have to change things up. Even though something might work, you can't necessarily do the same runs or necessarily play the same style because the staff's heard you play 100 times already. So it's like, I got to do something different. But when you go play
Right.
a new place like this, you can really drop like that A set that you know is going to hit, you know it's going to work.
Right.
And that's kind of what I did. I got good feedback. I'll be back there in July and hopefully back in September. And it was a great time.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it's good to hear that it went well up there. I know that's been something that's on the agenda or on the go-to for a while now. So it's always good to start checking those places off.
Yeah, definitely a good time. I want to try to, go up there with a crew maybe next time. Maybe bring the wifey. We'll see what happens. I like room prices are ridiculously expensive. I just looked yesterday. It's like $530 a room or something.
Oh, gee, yeah, we're in that travel time of year. It's tough.
So we'll
It's
see.
definitely different. But
so
we
yeah,
haven't.
And then I was in Atlantic City after that this weekend. So it was like,
where'd you play there?
Another casino trip. I played Kiss Kiss for the first time, which is in the Trop.
Okay.
Which was, I really had no expectations. I don't know anybody who's played there really. I haven't really ever been there. And it was a good time. Again, another casino set. It was just like rock the room. I played a lot of hip hop, but kind of jumped around anyway. The only thing that was super weird about Kiss Kiss, which kind of sucked, was you can't go there and like check into a room. The owner of the club or manager of the club like handed me the key to the room after my set was done. So I literally had my luggage in the DJ booth. After driving 2.5 hours, I'm like, damn, I just want to take a shower and like change. But I had to just go work, which sucked. But
what's that room setup? Is it like major nightclubs? Is it smaller nightclub? Is it lounge?
It's
I'm not really familiar.
Like it's a straight nightclub, man. You walk in, it's all VIP, and then there's a big dance floor. It probably fits, I don't know, 350 to 400 people, if I had to guess.
All right.
300. So size. Not like mega Atlantic City club, but like big enough, good size.
Okay.
For right now, like perfect size.
That sounds great. That's like the size, that's a good size club for me. I like them like that. Like, I don't want to see that's even medium size, like a smaller nightclub.
Yeah.
I always feel like those rooms, like you could kind of really feel energy in those rooms where like, I feel like sometimes in those bigger spaces, things can get lost because like you can get kind of far away and there's so many tables kind of tucked in all these different areas. I like when it's like a little bit, everything's on top of each other. I'm big. I guess I've been talking about this a lot lately. I like everything kind of more compact.
Yeah. Dark, low ceilings.
Yeah.
Keep it in a rectangle, put me in the middle and let me stand over the dance floor. Like that's all I want to do.
Right. I played Ash for 2 consecutive Saturdays and it's the exact opposite of that. Like the booth is elevated up in the middle of the room. And like, there's so many different levels and areas that kind of gets lost. And there's no feeling until like how to play all the time. So I think
also like at this time in the world of nightlife, it's like those smaller clubs are just doing better, there's a reason why Kiss Kiss is still open because you don't need 1,000 people to like break even in the night, like
even that, you don't need 1,000 people to staff the place either. Right. It's kind of nice that like the staff to crowd ratio is like, is all right. Like it's not going to kill you at the end of the day.
Yeah. So shout out to Mark for AC. I played the pool day party again, which they've been trying to revamp and it was pretty fun. Me and Killer Cass rocked out. It was a good time. And, then I had to drive up north, but
one thing we haven't talked about, because this is the first pod back since the meetup, we just do a little recap of the meetup. Then I know we've been hammering everybody with meetup content, and all our DJs have been throwing out like whether they be videos or photos or whatever on their socials. But I figured we talk about it here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, if you guys were there, I just want to say thank you. Gary and I looked at each other maybe an hour into the night and we're like, all right, we're good. This is going to be a good event. And we kind of knew it was going to be a good event no matter what. It's been a while since we've done one. And I think we've grown as a business since the last time we've done one as well. So I expected this to be a success. We've planned and executed probably like 6 of these at this point. So my confidence level is pretty high going in, and it was great. I thought the feedback was great. I like how we change things up every single time, or at least try to, where we had the live podcast this time, which was a unique challenge and something different, but I thought it came out pretty good. And guys, go check out the video on this one, because we had our guys, Tim and Brandon.
What a great job they did, man.
Yeah, killed it. They killed it. So check out the YouTube for sure. I know a lot of you may listen, but watch this one.
I got to go watch it because I haven't. And that's how I consume the podcast is by watching. I mean, that's pretty much how I watch TV. So that I'm excited to go. Like I said, it's my first 2 days I've been on the couch here. So I'm going to definitely sit down probably tonight. The Rangers were on last night, so that took precedence. But yeah, I'll probably watch it tonight. Looking forward to it. Pod was really good. I just went through all the reels because that we have lines up. I'm going to actually put one out as soon as we're done here, the second one, and kind of get out some of the other content that we've pulled out of that pod. Ferrari was great. He went over a couple things that we're going to talk about actually in a minute, because you actually did an event that you didn't touch on in going over your event. So we'll go back. We'll rewind in a second. And then obviously the Johnny Mac conversation was great. We'll have him back on, like we said, for a long form. I think that'll be great. He's been really active on my phone since then. So it's good to kind of reconnect with people because like we said in the pod, I had a long-standing relationship with him, but kind of have lost touch over the years, and him getting married and having his business and us having ours. So it's nice to kind of bridge that gap and have a professional relationship with him as well. So that part of it was all good. There was a bunch of people at the podcast at the meetup that I'm sorry, I didn't even say what's up to you. That I didn't even know you were there until I saw the photos come out. Boxley being one of them, one of our DJs, didn't even see him, didn't know he was even there. Didn't say what's up to him.
Is it weird? Wait, hold on. Just for the record, you and Boxley have never actually met in person. Is that true or false?
That's true. I've never actually met Boxley.
That's amazing.
And he plays so many gigs for us.
That's
so
great.
many gigs. And he does a great job for our company. So I was bummed. He was one of the people that I was like, oh, I'll finally get to meet Boxley. We're hiring him every weekend. This will be great. And then in the midst of everything happening, it just didn't happen, but that's what happens. You get sucked into these little pods of people. Everybody does. It's not just me or you. Literally everybody is jumping around and talking to different groups of people, which is great. That's the whole point of the event. So it was fantastic. I don't think you and I really got to experience the outside too much, which I think looked great. It was a nice little addition that I took into consideration, but didn't think it would. I saw some pictures from outside and was like, oh wow, people actually went out and played cornhole and hung out by the food truck and hung out by the little sitting areas. That was a great little addition, a nice little bonus to something that I don't think that we immediately planned for,
Yeah, well, it also helped us because technically we were only supposed to have a certain amount of people in the room, and we were pushing that number pretty hard
all night.
And to a point where people were hitting me up and I was like, I don't really know what to tell you. I'm sorry. But we said you had to RSVP because they gave us a cap on the number of people and we're already over the cap kind of thing.
I think it's a lesson learned that where in the past we expected, all right, if we get 100 people, that'd be great. Well, now it's well, I think it's going to be beyond that moving forward. That's going to be the expectation of low number.
Yeah.
This one was hard to plan for coming out of the pandemic and not doing this for 2 years. And then us also being so heavy in doing GDU and being so heavy back in, once we came back, we're doing, 175, 200 gigs a month kind of a thing. And just the Get Down names just kind of out there, which is a blessing for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes from this, like what we probably won't even know, but I'm sure relationships will form out of this and people start working together. And, you, like you said, you kind of reconnected with Johnny Mac, and like, that's why we do this, right?
Right.
That's why we do it. So shout out to everybody that came out. I hope you met some people that you haven't met before. I hope you've created some sort of working relationship with someone. And big shout out to all the people who came up to me who I've never met before.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity for you to network and for you to kind of introduce yourself to Gary and I. And who knows, right? You never really know where a working relationship can start from. So,
right. It's true. And then big shout out to everybody that contributed to the event. So Corgi, DMP, Mystical.
Yeah, for sure.
Midnight Market, all those people. So, so you did a really interesting event that I'm going to let you elaborate on, that I was, as you were talking about it, extremely jealous that you got to play it because of the format of the music. It was something that really interested me, obviously, because it was just so unique and diverse, and the time period in which that music came from. So I'll let you elaborate on that, and then we could jump into what, I think something came out of that you're going to say that Ferrari said in the last pod.
So I did an event for Yield Street, maybe last summer. So Yield Street is like a financial education company. You can also do all your financial planning and saving and investing with them. So I know someone who works for Yield Street, and we've had a relationship since West 5. He was a regular at West 5.
Jeez.
And 12 years later, we're getting work with Yield Street because of that. And so they did an event this year with Spotify at the Basquiat King exhibit, which just opened up in Manhattan. It is all never seen family artwork from Basquiat. And if you don't know who Basquiat is, go look it up, because it's just super, super cool street art. And there's artwork literally on fences, on refrigerator doors, obviously on canvas, and on, mixed use, whatever. I can't even think of the word.
Format.
Yeah, mixed use format in the exhibit. Super cool to walk through. It was really awesome. And then,
so this wasn't like museum pieces. This was like family and friends owned stuff that was brought in, like private collection stuff.
Out of the private collection. So never seen before stuff.
That's sick. And now Basquiat was, correct me if I'm wrong, he was New York City based. Like that's kind of where he was. New York City based.
New York City based. He was also became a socialite as he got more famous. And one of the clubs that he used to hang out with was the Palladium. So they created this event, right? You walk through the exhibit, you see all his pieces, and then they tried to recreate the Palladium nightclub at the end, where they set me up, and they had pieces of art that he did at the Palladium in this room, which was also really cool.
Jeez.
So they hired me and said, hey, we want you to basically curate music from the time period of as if you were at the Palladium. So it was a lot of 70s and 80s disco, new wave. It was definitely a different style of music than most of us are used to playing.
Right.
And it was a bit of a challenge. Number one, because this isn't the type of event where people are really dancing a whole lot.
Right.
It's all Yield Street invited their top X amount of investors. So a lot of money in the room, people who've been with Yield Street spending a lot of money. And this was a thank you type thing to, hey, come to this Basquiat exhibit, check it out. We'll have a, food, open bar, gifts, stuff like that. So it was awesome. The music, if you've listened to this podcast, not my favorite genre. The 70s disco stuff is cool. I'm into that. Some of the classic rock stuff, I'm cool. I'm into that. But all the new wave 80s stuff is not necessarily my vibe.
I love all that stuff. Did you get to play any Depeche Mode, New Order?
A little bit.
Was that in the? I don't know if that was in the playlist. So I remember going through it.
Neither of those artists were in there, but that style of music was in there. So I'm sure I could have gotten away with it.
It's kind of interesting to hear how you described him, because it reminds me of Andy Warhol for New York City in the 70s.
So one of the, sorry to interrupt you. One of the pieces was an Andy Warhol that he did of Basquiat. That
Really?
I was like, this piece must be worth so much money. It's not even funny.
Yeah, because like it feels like they had like a parallel kind of arc to their, how like artists, socialite. Warhol wasn't always fine art. Like he had his commune that he'd have people come and create things in New York City in the 70s, and then was known to be at 54 every night and really entwined himself in like pop culture in that way. So it's kind of a similar arc, it seems.
Yeah. So I think like he used to hang out with like Madonna and Elton John and
Yeah.
like he was in the upper echelon of celebrity with
Right.
at least who he was hanging out with,
Right. Yeah. It's just like a different time back then where all those celebrities did hang out at the nightclubs, and street artists could get involved and get to know those people and get brought to the forefront. Yeah. I guess you have similar connections like that now. But I'm thinking more LA, like some of those like street wear, like an online ceramics or China Market. What are they?
I don't know.
Just some of those like streetwear, and how they've kind of like, they have celebrity.
I look at him almost as like a Banksy or like a Alec Monopoly, like the guys. Banksy not so much because obviously no one knows who he is, so he's not out there flashing. But like if you follow Alec Monopoly, he's doing all these celebrity pieces and he's traveling the world and he's on private jets and he's like doing the club thing, and like that's who I would kind of compare him to, someone like that.
Right.
I guess.
Right.
I don't know, his story as well, but it was awesome. Right. But as I was doing this event, I'm like, all right, I know there's a lot of money and a lot of important people in this room. And so anyone who came up to me, I was like really going the extra mile to network with them and figure out like, hey, who are you? What do you do? How can I help you in any way? And in this night of playing music that I'm not that knowledgeable of, or do I like very much or as much, I have a wedding lead. And I also met someone who came up to me as I was playing like 90s hip hop or late 80s hip hop, and was like, dude, he came up to me twice. He's like, dude, you're killing it. The second time he came up to me, he handed me his card, and he happened to be like the co-founder of this private jet company. And so I was with Tim Vu at the time, and I was like, Tim, look up this guy and see who he is. And so I was like, I'm going to follow up with this guy. The next day I wrote him an email and I was like, hey man, it was great to meet you. If you ever need any type of entertainment for any of your events, blah, 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 right? You never know who you're going to meet at these things. And it's so important that you follow up. Now, he hasn't answered me yet, right? But if he ever needs someone for entertainment or for as a DJ, he might go back and be like, oh, that dude followed up with me. I met him at the event. Like, we should hit him up. Or maybe he passes my information off to whoever,
Right. But his network's crazy, I'm sure.
His network's crazy. He was at the F1 thing in Miami. He had, he does a lot of corporate event planning. So it's just really important to be prepared to meet these people at any event that you go to. And also put yourself out there and really try to be a part of these events, whether it's a networking event, whether it's a corporate event, like something like this. When you go there, be prepared with your 60-second elevator pitch, have a business card, and all the Get Down guys in our chat who say business cards are outdated, blah, blah, blah. No, they aren't, because when you're dealing with people who are CEOs and are in their, 70s and 80s, or whatever, 60s babies, 70s babies, they work in business cards. They don't work on Instagram. So yes, they are still important. Have your business card ready, have your 60-second elevator pitch ready, and follow up. You have to follow up.
That was going to be my question. Like, did you have a business card on you? And these are the reasons. These are the reasons why they're so important.
Yeah, like you have to have a medium that people in that age bracket or generation deal with, right? These guys are not going to scan your wristband that gives them access to all your socials. Like, sorry guys, it doesn't work that way. When you're in the club and there's a 21-year-old, yeah, they'll do that. But when you're working with a 60-year-old at a corporate event who's a multi-millionaire and who doesn't want to do that shit, you hand them a fucking business card.
That's the first thing that came to mind was our chat about that, or the ongoing back and forth that goes on for that. But anyways, yeah. But I mean, Mikey talked about this on the last podcast and at the meetup, and just how important it is to follow up, and also how important it is if you don't get responded to the first time, then like you give it some time and then you try again, because maybe they just missed that email the first time. Or maybe they missed however you tried to reach out. But, if you're DMing a record label or a DJ group, or, maybe they just didn't see it and it was a busy day and it was a bad day for it. So you follow up. You don't be annoying about it though. Like you're not gonna harass the person. You have to be sensible in how you're going to follow up, and then follow up to the follow up, if you will.
For sure. If this guy came up to me and said, "Hey, I have an event," I followed up the day after, I would probably follow up again this week if he had said that. Since he just gave me his card, said, "What's up?" introduced himself. Like this will be like a once a quarter check-in kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, similarly to, past venues that we work with, and or corporations that we have worked with in the past, we do a follow-up like once a quarter, I would say.
Yeah,
just to make sure, like to see if,
hey, has anything changed?
Anything.
Hey, have you, do you need anything? Is there anything we can help you with? Like a very simple check-in.
Right. Yeah. Don't be, sucking D on the email. Like, you could just a very simple follow-up. Just, you do it probably better than most people that I've seen. You keep it real easy. Just want to see if you guys need anything, provide the value of, this is what we could do for you if you need anything. And if you do, don't hesitate to reach out. Hope everything's doing well,
Yeah. Yeah. The follow-up is just so important. And the follow-up to the follow-up, you have to do it.
You have to do it. I know some people like myself, like, oh, we're going to come off like annoying, but like, you have to do it for the reasons that I had just stated. And as long as you're not harassing the people, that's the most important. Because then you're going to get written off immediately.
Yeah.
So,
you want to talk about what not to do?
Yeah, it leads right into it perfectly.
All right, it's everyone's favorite time of the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is rant time. We probably should have led with this. It would have hooked more listeners. But I am so tired. Please, I'm begging you guys. Do not tag people for your events or your music, even the music, maybe like original music I could get away with. Your events, please do not tag me or Get Down or Gary or anyone who's not affiliated with the event. Like there are people on Instagram who tag me in something and I'm like, why am I tagged in this? I have nothing to do with this. I don't even know what this is. Leave me alone. I don't even know you, bro. I don't even know you. Like we have this group and this support group with Get Down where it's like, we all help each other out. We support and share stuff that we're doing. That's a whole different story. If you don't know me and I've never actually met you in person and we don't work together, don't tag me in this bullshit that I don't want to see.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's spam, and
spam.
It only shows that you're interested in yourself. That's really what this comes down to. Because you don't come out to a Get Down event. You don't come out to a Cream event. You don't try to get to know the Get Down guys. Everything that our company is based on, you're going against. You're out for yourself. You're only trying to promote yourself through a group that you don't even fucking know.
Maybe it's just inexperience. Maybe it's inexperience. I don't know.
Well, hope maybe some of these people are listening. So do the right thing. Go and come out to events and come out to Get Down events and then earn your way to tagging people in things. Like, don't make it look so selfish, because that's all it looks. It just looks like I'm interested in bettering my name through your name for whatever reason. I don't know what we're doing for you by just tagging us in a post. Like, what?
There was a dude who made an edit, put the Get Down name on it, and put it out into the world. And the edit wasn't even in key. And I messaged him like, bro, you have to take this down immediately because you have nothing to do with Get Down, number one. And number two, your edit is not in key. And like, you shouldn't be putting this out anyway.
You got to just start calling these people out on the podcast.
I mean, if you're a Get Down guy, I'm sure you know who we're talking about right now as one of the people.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it's unprofessional. It turns people off completely. So don't do it. If you guys don't know any better, like, don't do it, please.
Well, think about it this way too. Like, what happens if 3 months down the road, like a friend of a friend is like, hey, I have this friend that could cover this gig that you guys need covered. And you find out who it is.
I would never book these people.
You found out who it is. And it's like, oh, this guy that spammed me once a week or twice a week for months. Like, I'm not using him. You know what I mean? Or I stole an edit, or I made an edit and slapped their name on it. Like, you're not being hired.
Yeah.
Like, this is pretty simple math. But you just don't know. You don't know at what point in life, like, you might cross paths.
Yeah.
You might want an opening for somebody. And now it's like, all right, well, this is a really strange situation where I'm opening for Cream and I've been spamming him for, a year. You just don't know in this industry. You have no idea when an opportunity is going to come up where you're going to work with somebody that maybe, you harassed for a long time in trying to better your name. Like, you have to be very careful. We talk about this all the time. Like, don't burn bridges, watch kind of how you maneuver through the industry because you just never know.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I know this has been like a real mixed bag of a pod so far.
Yeah, I feel like the title of this is going to be like the random show or something. So.
Yeah. And guys, sorry if I sound a little weird. I only have my pods today. Left my microphone and my audio card in Jersey, of course.
Yeah.
From the meetup, which was such a fail. But
a lot of moving parts lately. We'll get back on track. I'm not really worried about it, but we had a lot of, there's been a long time period, a lot of stuff that's happened since the last time we've done one of these. So it's like, we got to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the last things, been trying to end on these music conversations here at the end of every show. So before we get into our, what are you listening to, our resident music debater, Mark G, brought up this point to me recently.
That's the nicest way to put it. I was just going to call him a ball buster.
So he texted me the other day. He's like, yo, your guy UFOso's bugging out. Like, talking about, like, is Eminem in your top 10 all time, whatever. And I think there's a lot of these lists and it's how you frame this, right? Like, is Eminem in your top 10 is a very broad thing. Anyone can kind of like, I don't know, put their own take on that. Like, is he a top 10 all-time rapper and lyricist? Is that the question? Or is he a top 10 all-time like artist that's putting out music? Is he in your top 10 favorite artists to listen to? Like, how do you frame it? So
these are all different lists.
Right. So like, how do you create a list unless you actually frame what the list is?
Yeah.
Is he in your greatest top 10 all-time hip hop acts? Like, is that how you frame it for this particular conversation?
This is hard because everybody likes to say, oh, like greatest rapper of all time, right? But like you're saying, there are so many different avenues of hip hop that like you just said, all of those different things. You could break this down into so many different variables that you do have to be extremely specific. Now, I think Eminem, for me, I'll just broadly go through it. Like Eminem, like lyrically and like rapper wise, is like definitely top 10. Absolutely. Without a doubt. No, not even, and I don't like him. I'm in the unpopular opinion of saying I literally do not like Eminem. I do not listen to his music. I think that for me, it doesn't translate well. I don't it's just not for me. But he's definitely in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
And like putting him up, like battling, get like rap battles, I would say he like freestyling would be great. Like is great. Musically, no, he's like outside of my top 10, like as an artist.
Yeah.
like this is going to be crazy and there's going to be ridiculous backlash with this, but like Drake, because he puts out hit records, is far better in that regard, not as like a freestyle artist, not as a rapper itself. You know what I mean?
He just puts out hits and music that the general public or most people like.
Right. So that's the major distinction for me.
Right.
Right. One is way different from the other. Like, I understand that like Eminem's a better rapper than Drake, but Drake to me is a better artist, if that makes sense.
I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, I think Drake's a no-brainer in the top 10. No-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me give my take on the Eminem thing, because I tried to like create my personal top 10 list. And again, this is like top 10 of both lyrical talent, hits, records, like would I want to go listen to these people? That's how I think of it. Like, how much music have these people put out that I actually want to go listen to? And to me, Eminem has, lyrically, he's unbelievable. One of the best ever. He'll flame you in a battle. He could probably freestyle better than most people on this list, whatever. Yeah. He's put out a lot of commercial music as well. A lot of it, I think, is not very good. Like, what's the last Eminem song that was like playable or a hit? You know, there hasn't been one in a long time. There have been some albums that he put out, Marshall Mathers LP, the Eminem Show. There was a few in there that I thought were good and I listened to growing up.
Right.
So I think Eminem probably is in my top 10, but like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 range for me.
Okay.
I came up with like a list of some other people who are in my top 10, right? Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, Drake, Big Pun. I put Wu-Tang Clan as a whole because the amount of music that they put out is unbelievable. The production that's done with those guys, and Wayne. That was like the short list that I created. And Tupac's not in my top 10. And that's just a personal choice because I never listened to his music. I never sat down and was like, I have to listen to this or I need to listen to this. I never had those in the car on a road trip, like let's put Tupac on thing. I've done that with Eminem, and I've done that with all these artists that I just named.
I think Tupac, and this is going to actually blend pretty well with somebody else that is left off your list. This could be recency bias, but Tupac falls into a realm of artist, not like a Drake artist, like an actual artist, like a poetic kind of like, like a
Talib Kweli or Mos Def almost kind
informational, talks about social issues, etc. Just as like a Kendrick Lamar. Like, I put Kendrick Lamar and Tupac like in a same. I just thought of this now. I haven't really put much thought into this, but like I would put them into a same context of when I want to listen to something where I need to like think about it and they're touching on like different issues. Like, I feel like that's the kind of artist those two guys are. That is nothing. That is not a Drake. Drake's not like that. Nas is like somewhere,
either way,
somewhere in there. He's made party records, but also made, thought-provoking records. So as stated in the beginning of this conversation, you can break down different rappers and different hip hop artists in so many different genres. It becomes very difficult to say this person's the best.
Yeah, like just the broad, like great top 10 greatest of all time type things.
It's the same thing like when you get into like DJs, like, all right, Tiesto, greatest DJ of all time. So many people would be like, no way, that's not even close. There's Martin Garrix or there's AM, and it's like you could just like really break things down into so many different ways. It becomes very difficult to say that one person is the best of in their particular profession. So
yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Kendrick might be on some of those lists as far as top 10 for certain people. For me, he's definitely not, but
he makes a lot of like, I would say like 33 and younger top 10 lists. It's just that we're a little, not that we're outside of it, because like I loved like Kendrick's first album or two, like couldn't get enough of, listened to all the time. And me and my buddy John, who's I always say it's big musical influence. Like we would go back and forth and send each other the Kendrick stuff. So he is top of mind, but usually I think people in our age bracket, we do all tend to think of those Biggies, Jay-Z, and Nas's, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's an evolution after that, obviously, that sometimes gets left behind.
Another name that was brought up, a newer artist, was J. Cole. And I love J. Cole. I think he's really talented and super dope, but he wouldn't be probably anywhere near maybe top 30 for me.
I don't even put
Gary's exact quote is, "What the fuck is a J. Cole?" You sound like Jay Diamond on that one.
I think I was talking to Jay Diamond probably 5 minutes prior to that. That's why.
It's funny.
But like seriously, in the realm of that conversation, like what is J. Cole? Like there hasn't been a body of work, like a one album that says like, all right, well, this is a pivotal album in the history of hip hop music. To me, I know I'm going to get crazy stuff in the comments on this conversation, but enlighten me, because I'm always open to hear some new stuff.
I'm going to throw some other names out there and you can let me know where they kind of fit in. So a couple big name artists we haven't brought up. What about Kanye West?
Kanye.
I think Kanye has to be close. And now this is me knowing the status of Kanye as a producer, because to me, he's probably, if not the second greatest producer of all time.
He's probably the most influential, right?
Yeah.
Like if you just say influential, he's the most influential producer. Now, he didn't stay hip hop. Like he was hip hop for 2 albums, and then like he created his own genre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I have to put him into a pop. He's a pop artist. You can't call him a hip hop artist. As much as some people will like. I mean, sure, that's where he started. You know, back in the 90s with Rockefeller and doing all the instrumentals for, you know, Dilated Peoples and those types of artists. And then he transformed in the mid 2000s to this pop artist, and where he was making extremely unique albums like 808s. You talk about 808s and some people love it, and some people are like, that's one of the greatest, most, you know, trend setting, musically forward albums there ever was. And there's always two sides of the fence on that. Not a lot of people fall in between on that.
Yeah.
I listened to a great conversation about Kendrick's new album, and a lot of people are saying that Kendrick's new album is going to fall in that. Not a lot of people, but music writers are saying that Kendrick's new album could fall in that 808s type sphere, where if you're a fan, it's like you love it or hate it kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that Kanye can't be brought up in this conversation. He's just
all right. Let me throw a couple other names out there. We've been pretty light on the West Coast, and obviously we're East Coast based, so I think that's where that sort of bias comes in. But what about a Snoop or a Dre? I mean, talk about hit records and longevity and production. Like they've got to be somewhere on the list, right?
Snoop's first album, obviously front to back, amazing. And then after Doggy Style, like he never like hit the ground running, where he came out with like more than a record on an album that was like, I think, radio friendly, at least on the East Coast. Maybe that would have changed and been a little different had he come up in the Spotify age, where everything's not so album based. I think we were so obsessed back in the day with being album based, and people were judged on that extensively, because accessibility wasn't there as much. So I don't know if, not for me, Snoop. Dre is on that producer level and writer level, where like, you know, he wrote so many great tracks that you wouldn't even know about and produced so much good music. That I think his influence on hip hop is bigger than his like lyrics on hip hop, you know?
All right. And what about 50 Cent?
Man, he had a run. The guy
I think
had a run.
I think for you and I, 50 Cent has a place in our hearts because of the time that we grew up, right? Like all those 50 Cent party records hit as we were like 21, you know?
Yeah.
And he had a lot of them. And he had a lot of mixtape records. He was the guy for a handful of years. Jay-Z
Yeah,
talked
I
about it.
guess.
Like, I don't know. I was watching something where Jay-Z was like in talking to all his artists. He's like, you better put your music out now because 50 Cent's coming. And then once he came, he was the guy. And that was it.
It was kind of a funny, somebody who we haven't talked about yet. It was a funny transition at that time. DMX was the guy. He couldn't miss. He put out 2 albums in a year that were huge.
Yeah.
And like, if you went anywhere, you know, in Jersey City or anywhere in Hudson County, you couldn't step into a place without hearing a DMX song. And like all the guys loved him and all the girls were in love with him. And then like that happened from like 98, 99, 2000. And then like kind of after Party Up came out, then 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying came out, I believe. His mixtape came out prior to that, kind of got the wheels turning in the street. And then when Get Rich or Die Trying came out, it was like over. That was like 50 Cent from 2000, late 2000, early 2001, all the way to probably, I don't know, 06, 07, something like that.
Yeah,
like
he had a run.
He had a run and a half.
And then his team had a run after him.
I was gonna say, yeah, like the Tony Yayos of the world and all
Lloyd
the guys
Banks,
on his
Young
team,
Buck,
Lloyd
all the
Banks,
G-Unit compilation albums, like they had a
They're
run.
incredible. Right.
All right.
yeah,
I think that's where we'll cut it as far as like, I don't know. I'm looking at some of the other names. There's no other names that really intrigue me too much. Outkast, Nicki Minaj. I don't know. LL Cool J, Chance the Rapper. I mean, none of those people to me are in this same category. Busta Rhymes, DMX, maybe, like you said. I don't know. That's kind of it.
I think a lot of like a lot of the people we spoke about had like these little runs, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if their music always translated over time. It jumped maybe from like a 10-year span, like, but their stuff wasn't listenable for like little spurts of time, right?
Well, I think that's because like that's why we think that the big puns and the biggies and the people that were only alive to put out a couple albums, they're held to such a high level because we got their best and that was it. We didn't get their end of career stuff that we're getting with like the Jays and the Eminems and the Nas's, where it's like I don't even go listen to that stuff because it's just not. It's not very good to me, you know?
Right.
But they're on their like 8th, 9th, 10th album, you know? And it's like, they had their run and this is just them putting out music because they can and they want to, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they definitely earn the right to do whatever the hell they want at this point.
Yeah.
But,
all right. So let's close out with our, what are we listening to? What are you listening to right now?
I'm listening to the Kendrick album. I'm really trying to consume it as much as possible. From a listener standpoint, not as a DJ standpoint. It's the same way I consume the Tupac stuff. It's just for personal use. It's not for professional use.
Yeah.
And you have to go into it with that. It's really hard sometimes for DJs to disconnect those two things. And you have to go into this album, I think, with that mindset that I'm not going to play this in the club, but you know, it's still a very, very well put together, and you have to listen to it front to back, kind of, you know, in order, I feel.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. And after this conversation, I think we are underrating Kendrick personally. I think I'm going to go back and listen to some of his older stuff as well as the new album again. I listened to the new album once. I need to listen to it again for sure. But I think we're underrating him. And I think he's probably a lock in this top 10 and we're just not giving him the credit, but I don't know. I'm going to go back.
I agree. I think he is a lock in the top 10. I'm trying to go back to look at the that other album that I just couldn't get enough of, that I just played over and over and over again. One of his earlier ones, but like I think that you're right. He is definitely underrated. It's the one with Backseat Freestyle on it. It was his third album, actually. Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah.
Like, go back and give that whole album a run too. Incredible.
I mean, he's got a lot of records too, bro.
He's got
a lot of records.
Guy puts out a lot of records, and he hasn't put out a record in 5 years or 7 years. Black Panther, no, not even. Damn Collectors. Yeah, like it's been a long time, 5 years since he put out a record.
It's probably just another one of those like East Coast bias things where he doesn't get very much radio play here, and it's more, I don't know. I think that's probably part of it. He's a West Coast dude, right? Am I bugging? I think he is.
Yeah, he did the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you might be right on that, where we're just not kind of in tune to the West Coast as much as we should be.
Yeah.
But excellent. Listen to that new album. Check it out. What are you listening to? Anything?
I'm listening to the same, honestly, the same. I think especially after this conversation, like I got to go do my homework. I got to go do my Kendrick. He might be the only thing I listen to for the rest of the week type thing.
Yeah, I think that works, especially since you've been DJing a lot lately. Like you don't really have to be digging into too much there.
I like that we do this because it forces me to go listen to music as a consumer and not as DJ Cream listening to music that I need to go play this weekend.
Last week, since we did I talk? I don't know if I talked about it. Action Bronson. Have you listened to the album yet?
I
know we're both Action Bronson fans. So I just as a runner up here, and because we've missed a couple weeks of podcast, check the Action Bronson album out. It's very Action Bronson, but that's another one, like front to back. It's kind of like storyline. It mixes into each other. And it's interesting for sure. He's also gotten to the point where he has such a fan base and such a personality on like TV that he can just kind of do what he wants. Like he has other revenue streams where like he's not relying on his music. So we'll listen to that album. That's super dope too.
All right, cool. The only other thing I want to promo is we've talked about it once before, but next Thursday, I'm playing a show in New York City with Baseline HQ. It's an artist show. So I'm going to play an hour of my original music and just stuff that I probably don't get to play too much of in my normal open format sets. Tickets are $15. I would love the support for anyone that wants to come out. Again, it's a Thursday night, so you might not be DJing. We got a little get down crew that's coming out. We could commute from Hoboken together if you guys want to jump on the train together or whatever, or drive in together. But super excited for that event. Again, this is one of those that's circled on my calendar that like I can't wait to go play and get to do something to get my creative juices going. This one's for me type thing. So June 2nd, it's at Chelsea Ballroom, or I think that's what it's called. And we'll put the ticket link in the bio or in the show notes. It'll be in my bio as well if you guys want to grab a ticket.
We'll also link some Baseline HQ's socials so you guys can follow them because they're a super dope company out of Jersey City.
Yeah,
that we're establishing a working relationship with, and big shout to them. Yeah,
and shout to Zach. We're working on having Zach on the show. I think it'll be really cool to hear the stuff that he has going on. He has a different lane, which is super cool. So,
all right. Looking forward to that.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode. My name is Kareem.
Gary W.
Peace out, guys.
Peace out, guys. Later.